Hello. Cool. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about TradeZella, but I mainly want to talk to you guys today about data collection, the importance of data collection, different ways to view it, how you may have never even thought about data collection as in depth as I'm going to show you today, and the reason that data collection is realistically the difference between someone who actually ends up turning profitable in trading and someone who stays stuck for years and years and years, right? It was definitely a big turning point for me, so I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this. Can you guys just pull up my screen on the screen? So I'm just going to pull up and share my screen. Perfect. All right, guys. So this is obviously TradeZella. TradeZella is a journaling platform. It's a tool that's going to make your life much easier when it comes to collecting data, journaling your trades, reviewing what happened in the day. And I'm going to show you some different sort of tools, techniques, and different sort of tips to obviously get around and do that. Now, first things first, obviously, when it comes to TradeZella, the main thing is obviously getting your trades imported, right? So it's really easy to do. You can directly broker sync your account with TradeZella, so you don't even have to manually do any sort of entry of your trades. Everything will be automatically imported into the platform. So the way to go ahead and do that is just press add trade right here in the top left. So if you just press add trade, and then you can press add new account. Choose your broker, so maybe it's TradeRate, maybe it's MetaTrader, maybe it's Tops there, and you're trading props, and then just go auto sync and press continue. Then you can select liable, demo, whatever it is. So if you're trading a prop firm, it's going to be demo. If you're trading a live account, it's obviously going to be a live account. Just go ahead and press connect, and it will take you to the TradeRate login screen. And once you just go ahead and log in, then all of your trades and all of your accounts will then automatically be connected. So really, really simple to get all of your trades into TradeZella, right? And that will be all of your trades from, your entire history of your trading career with those accounts. Now, the next kind of thing you want to do when it comes to data collection and, journaling and logging trades is we want to review this data, right? We want to know what this data is telling us, right? So within 5 minutes or so of just connecting your account to TradeZella, you can start to get these insights very easily from the platform. And the way that we can do that is using the reports tab over here on the left. So if we just go to the reports tab right here, and I just simply go to reports and I go to, for example, date and time. Okay. When I'm on the date and time tab, I can very easily start to see these higher level insights about my trading. So I can see straight away that my best performing day is a Wednesday, and I have made, $114,000 on a Wednesday. My worst day is Thursday, and I've only made $18,000 on a Thursday. Right. And I can actually start to see, the specific win rates for each day of my week. Right. So I can see that Monday has a 47% win rate, whereas Thursday has a 32% win rate. But Tuesday specifically has a 51% win rate. Right. But it's also important to look at the R multiple for each one of these days. So I can see, for example, on Monday, I have an average of around sort of 2.4 R in terms of my average loss to my average win. And that's pretty consistent across all of my days. So I don't really need to worry about too much on that. I can see that Friday does have a lower win rate, but I can see it's almost an average of a 3R multiple on Friday. So that's obviously good to look at. Now you can also go even more in depth, and you can look at, cross analysis between all of the different specific times of your trading, right? So for example, I could look at the specific time on each day of the week and how my P&L is affected there. So 2 o'clock, let's say, or 1:45 here on a Tuesday, I can see that I've lost $9,000. And on Thursday, I've lost $9,000. Now, this is how we start to use data to investigate where the issues are in our trading. So for example, if I start to see there's a consistent pattern, so here even more, you can see it preface at 1:45, on most days of the week, I know that I have an issue trading that specific time of that day on the week, right? So all I have to do to investigate this issue is just click into, this area and cross analysis. And then I can now start to review all of the different trades I've taken at that time and start seeing what the individual issues are. Okay, so for example, I can see that MNQ here, and then I can just go to trade details and I can start investigating this issue. And what I can actually do here is I can review the trade I can see the entry and exit for the trade, and I can be like, right, okay, let me look at my notes for this trade. Let me look at the stats for this trade. What was the actual issue with this trade, and why did I lose? Like, why is this a consistent time that I keep losing? What happens here, right? And this is what you need to become really good at as a trader. You need to become really good at being, the world's best self-reviewer, the world's best educator, by reviewing your data and seeing where the gaps are. Now, that was just really high level stuff. We could go much more in depth. So for example, I can go even things like trade time specifically, right? I can see, if I just remove these filters here, I can see the specific win rates for the specific times of day that I trade, right? So I can see, for example, at 10 a.m., right, I have a 91% win rate. But at, for example, 7 p.m., right, I have a 24.5% win rate. So which one do you think is undeniably better for me to trade, right? It's going to be 10 a.m., right? Versus obviously the 7 p.m. time zone. So straight away, I can come here and I can just cut out any trades that I take at 7 p.m. because I know that they've cost me over 10 grand, right? So really simple but effective ways to use data to actually just start to remove some of the losses from your trading. A lot of trading isn't necessarily when you start to scale and you start to move up the stages of being a trader and get better at trading. It's not necessarily even remotely about winning more. It's more about managing your risk and cutting down your losers. And this is just a really simple, effective way that takes you, 5 minutes to import your trades and go through this data and just look at it quickly, that you can start to sort of, remove some of these losses from your equation and increase your win rate, increase your average R multiple. Now, further than this, you can go into, the specific months, the trade durations. I can see my best performing hour, my least performing hour, most active hour, right? So I can always see, that I've placed 173 trades at 1 o'clock. Why is this my most active hour? What's the potential trigger that causes me to want to place more trades here? Going even deeper than that, you can go into the specific symbols. So maybe you're just currently a trader and you're very new and you're trying to figure out, what should you trade? What should you focus on? Everyone says trade one symbol, focusing on that, right? Just simply connect your account to TradeTeller, come to the symbols tab here in reports, and you can see all of the stats for all of your different assets, right? You can start to compare, what's the average R multiple on each asset? What should I be targeting on each asset? What's the average win rate on each asset, right? So I can see here that my highest win rate overall, based off, trade volume, is going to be US 100, which is essentially just NQ, right? So NQ is something that I should definitely be doubling down on. Forex, GU, EU side, pretty good win rates, 58, 51% right here with pretty high trade volume. But you can see Euro USD, average R multiple, not very good. GU, however, average R multiples amazing and a good win rate. So now I know that GU, for example, might be something that I should be doubling down on. Let's go, instruments, prices. You can start, if you're testing out futures versus Forex, what's better for you? Easy way to come here and just see. Now, one of the most powerful features in all of TradeTeller, and this is what I want to challenge you to really think about today. I'm going to go back here to just a specific trade. Okay, so let's go into one of these trades, like this one, for example. All right, so here is a trade on NQ. Obviously made a fair bit, but you can see here on the left that I've added some tags to this trade, right? And these are tags on the left right here. Now, tags are one of the most powerful features that you can use in TradeTeller. And also if you're building your own journal and you're just looking to log your trades, tags is a very, very effective way to summarize what's going wrong in your trading. Now, I want to challenge all of you here today to have a think about every single little aspect that has ever gone into your trading. What are all the small things that affect your trading? For example, the night's sleep that you have, right? How many hours of sleep affect your trading on the day, right? Do you go to the gym before trading? Do you go to the gym after trading? What are all the different entry confirmations you use? And what you can actually do is set them all up as tags, right? So you can create a tag category and you can track any sort of thing and how it's affecting your trading performance. So you can see, for example, here, I've added a sleep tag and I got medium sleep. But I could even go as in depth to track all of the individual hours of sleep I get and how that actually affects my trading. So if I were to go ahead and tag every single trade that I take moving forward from this day forward, based on the amount of hours of sleep I had the night before, I can then visually very easily start to see how sleep is impacting my training performance. And for me, I personally did this, and I saw that when I was sleeping less, it was massively impacting my training performance. Now, even things such as, you can tag the actual time frame that you're using on, right? So I could go ahead and add a new category here, and I could just go ahead and edit this, and it could be like time frame used, right? And just hit save and look at my trade and just start to go ahead and tag the 1 minute time frame. Okay, so if I just I took this trade based off of 1 minute time frame, and if I just start adding this to all of my trades, all of a sudden within a couple weeks, I'm going to be able to very easily see from a high level point of view what the best entry time frame for me to enter on. I can very easily see, for example, the 1 minute time frame might be costing me money, whereas the 5 minute is consistently working quite well for me. I also want you to think about breaking down all of your strategy into different aspects, right? Maybe you trade support and resistance, maybe you trade supply and demand, right? Maybe you're an ICT trader and you trade order blocks, fair value gaps, right? You can come in for every single trade that you tag, and you can go ahead and tag them based off the time frame of the PD array or the area of interest that you're using, right? So for example, if I go ahead and tag this trade as a 15-minute supply, right, then I'm going to actually be able to see all of my trades from a high level on how a 15-minute supply is actually performing based on win rate, based on the P&L, based on how consistent that works versus a 1 hour area of interest, right? So breaking down your strategy into every single little aspect you can think of. Now you can also track things about like mental state, the mistakes, as I said here, I have a pre-market routine thing, and I like to track if I go for a run before trading or if I go to the gym before trading. And from doing this over time, I have learned that when I go for a run before I trade, I consistently perform better and I'm mentally more clear. And the data actually shows me that. So now something for me that's mandatory is I do some kind of exercise before I trade every single day. And it's so easy to come in here and just set this up and start doing this for your trades. Now, let me show you how this actually works based on the reports page. So if I come back to reports here and I just go to the tags right here, you'll see that these are all of my different custom tags that I've set up, right? So for example, PD array here, which just means area of interest, essentially. I can see that the 15-minute demand zones, right, have my best performing sort of area that I trade from, right? So I can see that I've got 90 trades. That's made me $30,000. I can see that a 15-minute demand has a 46% win rate, right? Whereas let's go with, a 1 hour demand only has a 40% win rate. I can see the average arm multiple on a 1 hour demand is 1 to 5, whereas on a 15-minute demand, we're talking more so 1 to 4, right? So I can see a 1 hour demand zone has a, statistically a lower win rate, but it does have a higher arm multiple. So now I can start to track things such as, how does a 5-minute entry perform versus a 1 minute entry, right? So if we just go to, which one is it? What's it on here? If we just go, so, it's not on this account. Okay. Let's say sleep, for example. As I said to you, you can individually track the hours of sleep and how it affects your performance. Now I can see that when I sleep well, I have a 73.68% win rate, right? Versus when I sleep poorly, I have a 14.3% win rate. The difference in that is, it's crazy, right? I can instantly see that when I sleep poorly, I pretty much always lose. So now, if I do have a poor night's sleep, I simply just don't trade that day, because I've realized from not just from feeling, but from data that it really does impact my trading. Okay. So really important sort of thing to think about. And as I say, I really want to challenge you guys to think about all the different things that you could think about that go into your trading. Has anyone in here ever set up tags before on TradeZella? No? Yes? How many people have we got in here today? Okay, no worries. No worries. I guess no one has. That's fine. But as you guys haven't, setting this up is literally game changing for you trading, because it's not only like, maybe currently you're a break-even trader, but you go ahead and you start setting up tags today, right? And you start tracking your entry time frame. Imagine in 3 to 6 months how much more you'll know about your trading because you set up these basic tags that took you 5 minutes to set up. And now you know, for example, that when you take trades on a 1 minute time frame, you only have a 25% win rate, versus when you take it on a 5 minute time frame, you have a 70% win rate, right? Now you can cut out all of those losses, versus, your sleep. Now you know that when you sleep poorly, you only have a 14% win rate, right? So you can start to cut out that. Now you know what is the most effective pre-market routine for you. You can even start setting up tags like, for example, if you do your analysis on the day, or if you do your pre-market prep the night before. For me, I have a statistically 100% win rate when I do my pre-market prep the night before, versus when I just show up and do my analysis on the day, I only have a 30% win rate, right? When I do a run before I trade, I have an 87.5% win rate. Whereas when I don't run before, I pretty much always lose. These are all the interesting little features that you need to refine, right? I'm sure a lot of you have probably read the book, I think it's called Atomic Habits, right? It's all about improving by 1% every single day, right? This is how you do that in trading. A lot of people think trading is just showing up, placing a trade, and just, either winning or losing, calling it a day. It's not. You have to start doing this little bits of data collection. You have to start refining not just your strategy, but also yourself, all of the little things that go into your trading, right? You could even set up a tag, for example, here that I've set up, which is listening to music. You can track using TradeZella whether listening to music or not listening to music is affecting your trading, right? You can see what your win rate is when you listen to music whilst you trade and when you don't listen to music whilst you trade. Maybe you want to set up a tag to track, how you perform when you're, at work versus when you're at home, right? And you want to see the actual performance there. A big one I see people set up is when they're looking after their kids versus when they're not looking after their kids. How is that distraction actually affecting your trading, and how much money is that actually costing you in your trading? Okay. So tags is one of the craziest and best features you'll ever use when it comes to data collection. And this is what I mean when I say data collection, right? The statistical normal way that people talk about data collection is simply just, taking a screenshot, posting it in some kind of document and calling it a day. That is not what data collection and journaling actually means. I really want you to think, how much further ahead would you be in your journey in 6 months if you started collecting good data right now, such as this, and using those tags and collecting that data right now, versus, in 6 months if you didn't, right? You are going to be exponentially further ahead in your trading journey if you start collecting what we call good data now. And the sooner that you do this, the sooner that you'll start to excel. I promise you, this whole aspect of data collection is the reason that people stay stuck in the same spot for years and years, because they never learn, they never refine, they never adjust, they never change anything. They just show up, they place trades based off intuition and call it a day. And it just doesn't work, I'm afraid. Now, also, what I want to show you today is a much more intuitive way to actually review your trades and start collecting data as well. And that's using a feature called Trade Replay. Now, Trade Replay is essentially kind of like Trading View Bar Replay, but much better, right? And the reason being is if I just go back to a trade here, so let's just go back to sometime last year. Let's go back to that same 11K trade, okay? What I can do is I can select all of the trades that I took that day. All right, and you'll see this is obviously the price action chart for that specific day. Now I can see at the bottom here, these are where my trades are. So let's just go ahead and skip to there. And if I just go ahead and press play, it's kind of like back testing, but it essentially allows you to relive the trading day as if you were. So you can slow this down if you wanted, and I can put this, on a 1 second replay. And now this is going to be exactly as if I was watching live price action at the time. Right, and you'll see that it's now appeared, my P&L on the screen. I can see my running P&L for the trade that I was in, right? And I can actually really start to review this trade and be like, okay, why did I take this trade? Was this a good trade to take? Let me just go back and switch to the 5 minute, watch the price action, and kind of just replay the entire trading day as if it had just happened, right? And you can play this as if it was live price action. And I can go ahead and speed this up if I want to. So if I just go ahead and put this back into the 1 minute, I can go ahead and pause and skip, and manually skip it if I want it to speed up and see what my trades were. right? So where's the big trade? The big trade's already happened right here. So this was the big trade. But what I can also do is if I just come to the right over here and press journal, obviously we spoke about, you know, data collection, all these different types of things, right? I can go ahead and press journal and look at my trade and come to the strategies tab here, right? So here are all the stats for this trade. And I can actually go back and look at this trade, and I have my tick list of all of my rules, right? So these are my trading rules that I have to follow for this particular trade. I can come here and I can actually tick them off, and I can say, okay, cool. Did I actually follow my rules on this trade? Let me just review the chart really quick and just check, you know, did it have a higher time frame key area, right? Was there liquidity taken? Was there a lower time frame, you know, entry? Did it have all of these things? And if I am able to tick all of those, then I can evaluate my trading day from, okay, this was a good process driven day. I followed my rules, versus if it wasn't, right, and I didn't follow my rules, then TradeZeller is actually going to be able to flag you and start to say to you, okay, you know, look, my name's Josh, just for reference, but look, Josh, you're consistently not following your rules. The issue isn't that you're not necessarily trading well or your strategy doesn't work. It's that you're not consistently following your rules. And that is what doing this kind of review is going to allow you to see. Now, I can also go ahead and add all of those, you know, tags that we spoke about before. So whilst I'm reviewing the trade, I don't have to go back and, you know, do it manually, so to speak. I can actually just come back, you know, replay the actual trade as if it was live, and I can watch and be like, okay, what are the mistakes I made? What are the tags I should add to this as I'm watching it? All right, what was my entry time frame that I used? What was the PD array or area of interest that I traded off? I can review my trades this way, whilst also making, you know, any notes, right? So you can see this little screenshot I've added here, right? And I can just take screenshots of the trade, go ahead and import them in here, and I'm all good in terms of that. So that's a much, much, much more intuitive way to actually review your trades and really sort of get into it a bit more effective than just, you know, taking a screenshot and leaving it, right? This is much, much, much more effective, okay? Now, if we just come back here, what I kind of want to show you guys what you can also do is I'm just going to kind of run you through each feature one by one, to be fair. But let's say, for example, you've got TradeZeller and you really just don't know where to start, right? And you're thinking, like, I've imported my trades, how can I improve my trading, right? So you're brand new to TradeZeller, you've imported your trades, and you don't really want to go dive through all of this data. I can go ahead and just go to the top right, and I can just ask Zeller AI pretty much anything. So imagine like Claude or ChatGPT, but it has access to all of the trades you've ever taken in the past, you know, forever, right? So I can literally just ask it here, what can I do to become profitable? Right? And what it's going to do is it's going to analyze all of my trades, and it doesn't just understand basic data and numerical values, right? It understands trading concepts. It understands the way that you trade, and it understands the chart, right? It understands the trades that you take, and if you're actually following your rules, how your strategy is performing on a certain market, and all of these different things. So it says what to do to become more profitable, focus specifically on NQ, separate styles, so don't mix, you know, intraday and swing trading logic in the same playbook, right? Cap my damage, so add and max free trades loss rule, cut revenge trading, protect my green trades, trade less on bad days, something like 5 to 10 trades max, and own. Okay, cool. So dive into my NQ trades. What time of day is best for me? Okay. So now I can get it to dive into here. So let's just give it a second to obviously run that report for me. But you can ask it pretty much any question you could ever think of. Okay, so it's identified that 2 p.m. UTC is my best time to trade, and I'm consistently profitable all the way back to 2024 there. But 3 p.m. UTC is where I start to blow up, and later on. And it's giving me this sort of graph here so I can compare and all of this type of stuff. So next step, run a tight breakdown of NQ by 30-minute window trades, then compare win rate and P&L profit factor and isolate your X. So I could even, you know, get it to make actual changes for me though. So I could be like, can you create me a playbook or strategy that will be better for me? And it will actually go into my TradeZeller and start creating a playbook and a strategy for me. Okay, so I can be like, okay, I want this strategy, use this strategy, and it will go ahead and sort of build this for me. Okay, so really, really cool in terms of that as well. Now, I want to show you one of the craziest new features that we added, and especially for those of you that currently don't have a strategy or you want to, test a strategy, so to speak, right? And that's backtesting. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with backtesting, but TradeTeller has actually brought out automated backtesting. Now, a lot of you might be asking, what does that even mean, right? You can simply use AI now. Okay, the tools that we have in, current sort of this day and age as traders, we are so spoiled, but I can essentially just type my strategy into this little box here, and it will test my strategy over whatever period I want. So if I want to test if my strategy works over the last 10 years, I can get it to do that, right? So for example, if I just go ahead and select this Asian range manipulation template here, and it's simply just put, wait for confirmation of the Asian range high, then enter short when a change of character is confirmed. Stop above the manipulation high and target the Asian range session low, and obviously mirror the same for longs. And if I just go ahead and press continue here, what it's going to do is ask me some questions to obviously confirm the strategy. So should the trade fire on the candle that confirms the chart? Yeah, on the candle close. How long after the Asian range sweep can the chart still trigger? Same session. And then it's going to go ahead and prepare the strategy, sort of set it all up for me, break down the entry and exit criteria, break down all the different trading rules and all this type of stuff. And once it's done this, it's going to go ahead and just let me approve it. And what this will basically go and do is it will run an automated back test. So it will automatically go onto the data for all the charts for the last 10 years, and it will test this strategy for me. It will basically, identify whether this strategy is actually profitable. Now, how easy is that compared to doing all of this yourself, in the sense that, let's say you go on YouTube, right? And you see someone on social media and you think, wow, I want to trade their strategy. It looks like they're killing it. Now you can actually just come on here and test whether their strategy actually does work from a longer point of view. So I can just go ahead and press run backtest here. And it's obviously just going to give me this little progress bar right here. So it's going to fetch market data. This will take anywhere, between 1 to 5 minutes, depending on the strategy. Normally it's not that long, probably about a minute. And we'll be able to see the results here together of, the last, so 2025 to 2026 of essentially, a sweep of Asian session high, making your market structure shift, and then seeing how profitable that really, really is. And if you come in here and obviously you find out that that is profitable, then, jobs are good. You've got a profitable strategy that you can then go to obviously work on. Now, whilst this is loading, I'll show you another example, because this looks like it's going to take a minute to do. We'll give it 30 seconds or so. How is everyone today, though? What kind of people have we got in here? Like, are we New York session traders? Are we London session traders? What are we all trading? Anyone? London, all sessions. Okay. What type of traders are you? Because we could also, I could run your strategy through this today if you want. You could tell me a small prompt. I could run your strategy through this, and we can obviously test if your strategy really works over the longer term. London, all sessions. What type of traders are you? Are you liquidity traders? Are you supply and demand traders? Have we got order flow traders? I'll pull up a separate tab though whilst we wait for this. This might take a couple of minutes. Da Vinci's model. Interesting. Okay, cool. It's 55%. I got a bit of a snotty nose there. Market structure. Market structure is king. I'll show you another feature whilst we're just waiting for this. But guys, how many of you currently already have TradeTeller and you know how to use it? Out of curiosity. It's taking longer than expected. Anyway, whilst we wait for this, I'll show you the progress tracker. Progress tracker is a nifty little feature. It essentially allows you to track your discipline, in a sense that we know that trading isn't necessarily about how well your strategy performs. It's more about your inputs, right? Following your rules, being disciplined, right? So this is essentially a score tracker for discipline. Okay, so you tell TradeZeller all of your rules. So for example, you just come here and press edit rules and you tell TradeZeller all of your rules, right? So I want to get done 7,000 steps, go to the gym, read 10 pages of a book, 2 losses for the day I'm done, 1 win for the day I'm done, and these are my trading hours, right? Then what TradeZeller is going to do is it's going to automatically scan your trades, and it's just going to basically track whether you follow your rules every single day or not. And the idea is when you do follow your rules and you have a good day, this will color in blue, right? So you can see this one here isn't very blue. So not the best from me, obviously, but I don't currently use this specific account. But when this is blue, that will show that you are currently having really good discipline and really good consistency in your habits, which is what trading is really about, right? So if we can get this colored in consistently, whether your P&L is green or red, you know that you're making progress. So that's kind of the real way to obviously track progress with that. Here we go. So it looks like the session is done. All right, so this is our automated backtesting session. So the strategy that we tested was basically an Asian range sweep. And we can see here that, so why is it only, right, it's because I changed the filters. Hold on, let me do it again. So let's go with that. Okay, so it's gonna have to reload this annoyingly. Damn, that's annoying. Okay, we'll go into the data anyway. But for example, I can see on these specific rules, the trade frequency isn't very high. Now, I can see that this strategy isn't necessary. It's only just profitable, but it's really not taking very many trades. But what I'm not asking you to do when it tests, all of this data, I'm not asking you to, for example, just take it on a whim and trust the fact that an AI has automatically backtested all of your trades and, it's going to work in that sense, or, it's perfectly dissecting your trades. What you can actually do is you can go into the trade log and you can actually individually review every single one of your trades, and it will tell you the logic about essentially why it took said trade, right? So you can see here that this is the Asian range, right? It saw that it swept the Asian range high, it broke a low, so it took the trade, right? And you can see that it ended up TPing down here the Asian session low. So you can see here actually all of the trades that the AI took and the logic behind each one, right? So here I can see that we swept at the Asian range low, then we got a broken higher high right here, so based off market structure, and then we can see that we targeted the Asian range high. Similarly for here, for this loss, for example, it took, right? You can see that we manipulated the Asian range high, we broke market structure here, so it entered in short, and this one ended up reversing against it. So not only can you automatically backtest, years of data for a strategy, but you don't also have to just trust it and be like, oh, okay, it backtested this, it said it wasn't profitable. You can go into the trades and actually review if Zeller AI is actually backtesting correctly. So also a really, really cool feature there. Let's go back to this other session and just see if it's done really quick. Great session. Let's do this IFEG one. I'm sure a lot of people trade IFEG, so let's go here and let this one run as well. I'm curious to see what the actual results are for this IFEG one. But yeah, guys, does anyone have any questions about TradeZeller? Obviously, those of you that aren't using it, you can also do like agents, for example. You have AI agents in here. So you can obviously go ahead and set up these AI agents to analyze the market for you, right? Before, your trading day, and actually start to get them to make plans, review your trade. So if I, for example, if I go ahead and turn these on, they'll start automatically reviewing my trades for me. So let me show you a good example of that as well. If I just log out of this account here. You might be able to hear in my voice, slightly ill at the moment. Bit of a sniffle. Let's go with this account right here. So just another little way you can see the AI working. If I go to, let's say if we go to like last month. Hi guys, how's it going? If I go to one of these days last month, so when did I last place a trade on this account? So if I go to like this Friday, no trades on this day. Let's go find the trading day on this account. So, all right, so there's this day right here. So let's go into the day, and I can just press view details here, go into the actual day. All right, here's the day. Let's view the notes for the day. Right, and I can go ahead and just basically get Zella to kind of review this and give me a full session review, right? So AI session review here. So this day was Friday, May 29th. Okay, so Friday, May 29th. May 29th. All right, and if I go and start my day here, all right, you can already start to see it. Look, so trade auto tagger, for example, Zella AI is automatically going through all of my trades and tagging them based on different things. So it's tagging them based on entry time frame. It's tagging them based on poor entry or good execution or not. And then you can also see that it also does this full session review of my day automatically, right? So I can see the session review for this day. It gave me an overall F. You know, for this day, I basically didn't follow my rules. I was married to longs. I refused to go break even. So my discipline was pretty poor on this specific day. And as I said to you before, it also understands your trades and the trading concepts. So when it's reviewing your actual day, you can see it's even speaking about, but the hidden liquidity resting, LO before was the structural warning you missed all day, right? So it's actually analyzed the chart, looked at my trade and said, oh, I was basically missing the liquidity below. And that's why I kept, you know, taking longs today. And that's the reason I failed. Okay. And it's even talking about like things like inversions for those of you that trade ICT. So it understands all of these different trading concepts and will automatically review all of my trades accordingly. Okay. So let's say, for example, today, if I want it to do a pre-market prep today, all I have to do is when I go to the agents tab right here, if I just turn on market sentiment briefing and I just put how I actually trade, right? So I'm an ICT trader who uses V1. And I just go to, you know, start my day, right? And I've turned that agent on. So today, and I just go ahead and I just press market sentiment briefing and I just press generate. It's going to go ahead and tell me all of the key levels that I need to watch today and do a whole entire plan for me. So just give it 1 second here. This probably takes, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds normally. But as well as that, obviously you have, if we come back here, we have the session review agent and the trade auto tagger agent. I already showed you the trade auto tagger agent, those two though. But yeah, guys, once I've obviously shown you this, I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day. So if you guys have any questions or anything you guys want me to run through quickly before obviously we finish up here, please do go ahead and let me know. And then I think you guys will have your normal segment for your trading. No questions, no questions. It doesn't seem like, okay. So as I say, currently it's going and it's scanning the market. It's looking at all the different assets that I trade. So I've specified today specifically though, only to trade NQ for it. So it's going to be scanning NQ and we can compare the chart after as well, just to compare the difference. What you trade, CFD or futures? These days futures, but occasionally dabble in CFD still. Started out in CFDs like 8-9 years ago and migrated to futures like 3 years ago. There we go. So it's done this little pre-market prep for us. So both fresh session highs, Thursday's rally. It's talking about VWAP, both trading above VWAP. 12:30 retail sales missed pretty hard today. Held above VWAP replay in the hour, bearish print, bullish response. ICT. So basically, it's telling me to long today above 3196 and ES above 7825. So watch for a liquidity sweep of 30-20-80 into the open. So if I look at 30-20-80, and then basically look for longs, right? So it's actually made me a full sort of game plan to trade here for the day, which is really, really cool to obviously do. So not only so it, you know, creates your plan, it reviews your day and reviews your trading and tells you basically where to improve each day. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it from me. I think we're going to change host here in a second. Let me just message and find out. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Obviously, if you guys do want to sign up to TradeZella, you can use the code CF20 to get a discount. Stop sharing there. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, have a great trading day, everyone. I hope you all have a great weekend, and yeah, I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing good. Happy Friday. Let me know who else here in the chat. What's up, Benji? Good morning, Benji. Welcome in. Welcome in. How's everybody doing this morning? How have you been trading this week? A little bit of an earlier start today for me. Gonna go through some analysis here. Gonna go through the game plan that I'm watching for the live trading session here this morning. I don't really trade the pre-market. I like to just kind of do analysis, get ready. And I like to trade once volume picks up after the 9:30 open. Bye, Nod. Good morning. Hope I said that right. So we'll go through analysis, things that I'm watching out for, all that kind of stuff. It's been an up and down week. Caught some good trades, sat out a little bit this week. We had some pretty choppy conditions inside kind of that balance range that we were in. I'll go through the full kind of technical analysis that I'm watching and kind of some fundamentals. Trading NQ or ES today. I've been primarily focused on NQ, Luffy, this year really, but I'm still doing full analysis, and I may take trades on ES. Just depends on what sets up. So both options are open. Good morning, Gord. There we go. What's up, Lucky? Welcome in. Always nice to have the usual crew here. So let's get into some analysis, shall we? Start walking through. Why exactly did I switch to NQ? I've always traded NQ. I keep getting these questions all the time. I've always traded ES and NQ. I was primarily focused on ES majority of the time over the last, 5 or 6 years. I still always trade NQ. It just kind of depends on volatility. This year, I've been a lot more focused on just kind of quicker scalping, especially the opening volatility in the first hour. And I've just found that I can take quick trades, be in and out, and move on with my day and have really good risk versus reward on NQ just because the volatility is much higher. Price swings are wider. I can catch fast trades in just a few minutes on NQ and get 3, 4, 5 R multiple on my trade. Whereas ES, similar trade, I'd be sitting there for 30, 40 minutes, an hour sometimes to catch a similar R multiple trade. So I've just been enjoying that. There's more trade opportunities as well. I have typically find less opportunities, and now I'm trading on both my personal account and prop firm accounts as well. I've made tens of thousands of dollars on Apex the last couple months, and so there's just more opportunities to take trades on more accounts on NQ, straight up. So let's get into some analysis here and what I'm watching out for. Honestly, guys, this is my first time going through the charts already. I've got a new baby right now, so I'm a little bit later getting into the charts in the morning than I typically am. So this is good. We can just kind of go through analysis top down together, shall we? Yeah, be busy. Good question though. Do you chase the trades either way, long or short? I don't chase trades. At least I do my best not to. Why is this zoomed out 90%? So let's take a look at my good old market AI tool. This has been my go-to kind of tool for fundamentals and just kind of doing my morning prep. Saves me a lot of time versus scouring stuff on X, on the Bloomberg economic calendar, on Trump's schedule, on all this different stuff. It saves me time in the mornings just going through analysis on here to kind of get a feel for the fundamentals that are going on, things that I need to be watching on. And I want to be clear, I'm a pure technical trader, right? I'm a pure order flow, supply and demand, auction market theory, Wyckoff theory type trader, pure technical. But I'm still very aware of the overall macroeconomics when important events are occurring, overall trends and stuff like that, because I want to position myself as much as I can with that. And even as a very short-term trader, as a tape reader, you are not going to be good unless you're a well-rounded trader overall. Like you have very solid risk management, you have very solid understanding of global economics, macroeconomics, all that kind of stuff, right? So I always start out my day going through analysis of fundamentals, earnings, economic news, geopolitics, especially when there's themes that are driving the market. Okay. So big one lately has been obviously the Strait of Hormuz and the war in Iran. Surprisingly, not too surprisingly, but the markets have seemed to shrug off a lot of the negative news. And honestly, this is something that is talked about. I remember reading about this in like Market Wizards and stuff. When the market comes out with some otherwise negative news and price reaction is to shrug it off and keep moving the other way, you should definitely pay attention to that. So let's go through it. I'm looking at kind of this ES. I have this set up to where I can click through whether it's ES or NQ to give me a little bit more specific insights on that. As far as the key calendar events, this is one thing that I like right here. Puts it right up front. Key calendar events. We've got Michigan consumer sentiment coming out this morning at 10 a.m. And oil news as well coming out at 10 a.m. So that's going to be an important one to pay attention to. In the pre-market here this morning, we had already come out core retail sales, which can be a little bit of one. Core retail sales and retail sales month over month. But looking forward into the trading session today, 10 a.m. news, Michigan consumer sentiment news, and consumer expectations can always spark a bit of volatility. Let me grab some iced latte here, guys. So let me know in the chat if you guys are technical or fundamental traders or both. And if you do look at technicals, do you go through kind of fundamental stuff? And are you making sure to stay aware of the economic calendar and key events going on? I'm curious, let me know in the chat. And smash a like if you haven't already. We're gonna go trade live today. as well, right? So we're going through analysis now. I typically trade pretty much 9:30 to like 11 after the New York Open. Bubbles Trader, my guy. Some new learning, okay. News as a catalyst, yep. Yeah, it's very important to understand the flows in the market, understand like maybe, going into CPI, PPI the last couple days, there was, people were kind of sitting sidelined. Volume was lower, right? Market was kind of chopping around, kind of waiting that. Now, look what happened yesterday. We got past CPI and PPI, and then the market was ready to make the next imbalance move. So we had a nice strong breakout yesterday on ES and NQ. Liquidity and volume. Good stuff. All right, so the major things here to watch out for is the 10 a.m. news. I also like having my news feed up here, can cycle through, popular breaking events, high impact events, or just leave it on all, right? So nice thing there. Let's check out the Trump tracker. Elevated risk right now. Typically, this starts catching my attention when it's above 50, 60 to watch out for, Trump potentially making statements that could move the markets. Let's see on the calendar here. As far as policy meeting, I don't see any scheduled speaking events, at least as far as when we're trading here this morning, showing up. So nothing there, but need to watch out for if he does make any statements, especially around Iran or anything. If you take a look at the economic calendar, I don't think we have anything other than what we just talked about from that highlights on my dashboard. We have the main thing, which is, I have this filtered. Gas, I don't know why it's not showing up my Michigan. If I come up over here, it is. There's not really anything other than the Michigan consumer sentiment news. So as far as bias, right, it's leaning slightly bullish overall based on kind of the different events that are going on. A little bit obvious, we're at all-time highs on ES. So overall, you can read through here the different things that could potentially change the direction here overall. But fundamentals kind of leaning bullish on ES. Let's take a look at NQ. I'm sure it's the same. Leaning bullish as well. So fundamentals leaning bullish overall here from our little market overview here this morning. All right, let's take a look at some more technical stuff here, shall we? ES is leading, pretty much into all-time highs. One of the first things that I like to do is just go through some daily charts. Let's take a look at my daily charts. Actually, let me just move my chart over since we got a little more time this morning. Boop. There we go. So looking at the daily charts here, obviously ES back at all-time highs. This is ES on the left-hand side, NQ on the right-hand side. Looking at my Thinkorswim charts over here. And you can see overall, we haven't gotten back up towards that all-time high. By the way, this is contract adjusted on the futures contract. Don't have the specific contract put in here on Thinkorswim. This is what I was talking about. So we broke out the prior all-time highs here. As you can see, I just have marked as old all-time highs around that 77.39s. And then after that breakout, we had that really strong, I was watching this as kind of a demand zone down here in this big blue oval right here. There was some stuff on the volume that I was mainly paying attention to that area for. Same thing over here on NQ, which I was marking just over these prior highs here. Both of those bounced super aggressively and came back up here. Now, over the last few days, we kind of had quite a bit of consolidation in this range here. Let's draw a fib on that range that we were kind of in overall here. Yesterday, we had a really strong breakout after, post CPI and PPI had a nice strong breakout into the all-time highs, right? So you can see well above 50%, broke out these highs here. We'll look at more specific key levels on the volume profile here in just a second. I'm just looking at kind of the overall key locations. So as far as looking for setups today, primarily just focused on longs. If I do end up looking for any short setups, it would only be after a kind of a shift of momentum. And I would be viewing it as counter trend, which just means I'm much kind of quicker on the trigger to kind of take profits, just kind of quicker, shorter type move, counter trend moves. Yeah, I mean, summer in general is typically lower volume. However, I just saw, I think, so somebody asked a good question. Do you take into consideration volume? Yeah, when we come to the top of a trend, we can, go into a period with lower volume. I did see a headline on, I think it was like bar chart or something yesterday. I think the last week has had the lowest volume since like February 2025. So market's very high and it was in a choppy range, so that kind of makes sense. But I'm not going to try to call the top by any means. It's pretty much, for me, in this context and location, it's pretty much like long until proven otherwise. Especially given like we had a really strong breakout of this 7,800 area yesterday and have held pullbacks into it. And I'll show you guys a little bit more in depth on the volume profiles here on deep charts momentarily. It's like my favorite tool overall now. So we'll take a look at that and watch that. But specifically, I like this area, kind of just looking at the daily chart here, how we broke out these prior highs here around 30,080 and these prior highs here around 30,000. So as long as pullbacks hold above this like 30,000, let's call it 30,000 to 3,100 area, really have no reason to go against this. Just looking for pullback longs. Targets probably be prior highs here, like that one we got up there. What is that? 30,300, probably up to here, right? If we continue to have a strong uptrend continuation today, I'm probably looking for pullback longs into this area, 30,300 to 30,500. And ES, pretty much when we're trading at all-time highs, I'm pretty cautious, and I'm not too greedy. It's one of those things, if the market takes off into the all-time highs, then I'm just kind of trailing my risk and take what I can get, right? That's all I really do. Let's see here. All right, so this general area here above 7,800 where we had this strong imbalance move is of interest to me if we can pull back there today and hold. Same thing, if we get a pullback that holds, I'm primarily focused on key areas for pullbacks to hold if I continue to see strong aggressive buying. If I see a strong shift in momentum, which will look more at like volume profiles and stuff, then I will potentially be interested in a little bit of counter trend, but I want to be pretty cautious there with that. And if I do, not looking for massive home runs necessarily. I don't really look at 1 minute and 5 minute time frames. I'm not a candle chart trader, which you'll see as we get into stuff. If you're newer to my streams, I primarily trade just purely reading the tape. So I'm looking at footprint charts on range bars. So like 5 points on ES, 10, 20 points range bars on NQ, as well as like the heat map and things like that. So all of my trade setups and analysis real time are purely just reading the tape, level 2, delta orders as they come in, completed transactions, right? Time and sales, essentially. So I'm reading the tape in real time for my trade setups. I'm not monitoring like 1 minute or 5 minute candles for any kind of things like that for trades. Typically intraday, I'll watch maybe a 15 minute or maybe a 5 minute chart with some volume profiles and the deep trades indicator. I'll show you guys that in a second. We'll get into that in a second. Getting ahead of myself. So overall, I'm just looking at kind of the overall trend and momentum. You can also throw up some SMAs too, if you want. I especially like that with just simple technical analysis on like a daily chart, and look at, you know, a longer term SMA and a shorter term SMA. If that shorter term SMA is more weighted towards the near term price action and it's pulling away from the longer term SMA, then obviously, you know, there's momentum in that direction. Similarly, on my footprint charts where I'm looking at range bars, I'm really looking at stuff that's more weighted towards the near-term momentum and volume. So I'm looking at the range bars and delta. I'll show you this in a second. And then I'm looking at VWAP and 20 EMA. That's really more tied to current momentum and volume. Again, none of my trades are like based off those moving averages. That's really just for context and stuff like that. Right, that's the daily chart here. Good morning, Go Harali, welcome in. This heat map is called Bookmap. There's also one from Deep Charts called Deep DOM, which you can check out as well. One second. Sorry, guys. All right, so welcome in, Soren Peterson. Eric, good morning, welcome in. So let's take a look here at other charts. So this is my volume profile chart on Deep Charts here on ES. We can talk through ES as well first. So we had a strong uptrend yesterday. We did have a pretty deep pullback, but it held at the first key area, right? So this was this area around prior highs that I was watching. You can see where the big orders came in here in this range at these highs multiple times. So I basically marked this zone where these big orders came in at the highs to see if we break out of that or if we kind of mean revert sweep off that. Yesterday, we obviously broke out of that and we left this low volume node, right? So I adjusted this zone slightly yesterday morning when we broke out of that, because I was marking around this low volume node where these really aggressive buyers drove this breakout. By the way, these bubbles is called the deep trades indicator here. And my settings for that is it's basically only marking orders that come in when there is an order that's greater than 150 lots here on ES. For NQ, I typically have that set around 90 or 70 lots, kind of depending on the volume, right? So if there's a order that comes in bigger than 150 lots, like that's pretty much institutional size, then it's marking a bubble for me. So we saw this aggressive selling come into this zone down here, got absorbed, and then we bounced out of it pretty aggressively, right? So had a nice pullback into that around 11:30 yesterday. Nice aggressive move. By the way, this is a 30-minute chart. I typically look at my volume profiles going into the day on the 30-minute chart and start looking at kind of my key levels that I'm watching out for that kind of aligns with my game plan from the daily chart. And then intraday, I typically drop that down to like 15-minute charts. Which is better? Honestly, just personal preference. They're both good. Deep Charts also has Deep DOM. So like, it's probably the best platform if you just want one thing, you can also set up like footprint charts, volume profile charts. There's a million indicators over there to help reading the order flow and reading the tape be easier, especially for beginners. And so you can have pretty much one subscription, one data feed, and get like all the different things that you really need to trade with order flow. So probably the best single place to go. So looking at this, what I really like here is around the close yesterday, we had a lot of aggressive selling. It obviously got absorbed because price did not move down from here. We had just a ton of aggressive selling absorbed by passive buying, and the market has still held that and moved higher from here. So I'm liking that area, right? And you can see we've already dipped into there 1 time, 2 times, 3 times and held, right? So I would have liked to look more at this dip on the news here, but I was not into trade on the news this morning. But for context, right, the market is kind of got a bell curve distribution going on here, and it pretty much is kind of also overlapping with this little bit of volume buildup area here that we had from yesterday. And a lot of that is because of the amount of orders that came in on the close. But nonetheless, you can see a pretty even distribution of volume here with the value area low, value area high, and point of control, kind of overlapping where a lot of this volume was yesterday. And so whenever I see kind of volume buildup areas like this, I'm watching for in the near term for it to potentially be a little bit balanced. So let's say kind of between like where this volume really dips off here and where this volume really dips off here towards these lows. So in that range right here, I'm watching out. I want to see what happens from here if we get a strong break of that kind of fair value-ish range, or if we kind of continue to mean revert in this range, especially going on a Friday. We already had a nice substantial move yesterday. So I want to see if that momentum continues today, or if it continues to break out, or if it kind of chops around and kind of mean reverts here. So a couple scenarios. Let me just do my snipping tool here because I kind of like this. On ES, kind of watching this range that we have here, kind of key areas at the highs and the lows here where the volume dips off. If we do kind of dip down here and then recapture, I kind of like that for potential longs. Or in the short term, if we break this and we start applying pressure and pops fail, right, we could have a little bit of a retracement on a Friday, a little bit of a Friday mean reversion on yesterday's range, right? I'm not saying I necessarily would want to trade that, but it's something to watch out for, right? Either maybe I scalp it and view it as a little bit counter trend or not. I don't really want to short all-time highs, right? If we break out here, that's pretty much all-time highs. Just going to be watching if there's strong volume and momentum for that to carry, right? And look to go with that. Drop this in the chat. All right, let's take a look at NQ now. So very similarly, I was watching this range and you can see where all these big orders got absorbed on, what was that, Wednesday? And then yesterday I had a really nice strong breakout of that, leaving this low volume node, right? And so my game plan yesterday was looking for longs, basically any pullback once we broke above this 920 area, right? So once we broke above those highs and I saw the significant aggressive buying, like driving that breakout, it's pretty much doing nothing other than looking for longs. Now, looking at this was pretty bullish how we held the volume up here at the highs to me overall, right? So no significant pullback really. Buyers did a really good job, in my opinion, of just holding volume up here. And the pullbacks pretty much all day were very shallow. The majority of that move really just happened in the first hour until 10:30 yesterday, and then since then we pretty much closed sideways, built a lot of volume. However, I do like how bulls kind of held higher lows and the pullback was much shallower than it was on ES overall. You can see the more balanced range is a little bit more pronounced here on NQ, and we had this area just under these lows where all that aggressive selling hit at the close. Now, what was that? Was that just some profit taking? I don't know, right? But all I know is a lot of aggressive selling came in here and the market did not trade lower from there. In fact, now we've squeezed higher again, right? And so at the top of this range, we see some big orders that came in all around here, which is basically sitting right around the current value area high and prior day value area high right there. So inside this, my main watch today is if we have a similar day to yesterday with strong momentum, if we kind of break above here and hold shallow pullbacks above here, looking to scalp longs along the move. Now, if in the short term, if we kind of pop and fail to sustain and get back under here, we could mean revert just back into this range towards point of control or the lows of this range. But I'm a little hesitant to go against kind of the bullish momentum that's going on overall in the market right now. So I may scalp that if I see really good confirmations, but I may just sit out of it. We'll see. Now, if we come to these lows, kind of take them out, especially if we can recapture, then I can scalp either a mean reversion back into this range or look to target the highs since there is such bullish momentum overall in the market. Good morning, Mohammed. Welcome in. Morning, T Trader. Welcome in. Welcome in. Right. So this is how I look at that overall. Right. And over here, let me just snip my other screen because I have 6 monitors here, guys. So let me move this. This is how I look at that, like on my other screen. And then once the market opens, I'll probably drop these down to like 15 minutes. But I'm essentially just looking at this range here, which is essentially the overnight range pretty much here. Do we get a strong continuation outside this value area, or do we kind of mean revert? That's probably a failed dip is probably my favorite scenario if we can get a pullback. There's just the most juice to squeeze there if that happens. This is specifically interesting here if we break out above that guy. Yeah, you want to definitely avoid trying to be first, like avoid trying to catch the absolute tops and bottoms of moves, guys. Let me, this is a good thing to talk about here for a minute. And you want to really avoid trying to catch the absolute tops and bottoms because it's just going to nickel and dime you to death, right? You may occasionally do it and it may give you a nice dopamine hit that you want to do that. But really when that happens, it's just kind of a matter of being at the right place at the right time. So like when the market is balanced and we see a bell curve volume distribution like this, right? The market auction is kind of balanced within that range, right? It can get like choppy in the middle. Generally, I like to avoid trading around VWAP and point of control in the middle and just use that as more of a target. I also, depending on how well defined the balance range is, I also want to avoid trying to catch the absolute extreme, right? I want to wait until like a low volume node forms or we have a strong like breakout show momentum shift. And I want to avoid like trying to catch the absolute extreme. Ideally, I want to see, really large absorption on a fake out, like a failed breakdown, kind of like a Wyckoff spring concept. And then a recapture where we see a shift of momentum and then exhaustion, right? And that's really what you want to wait for. The job is on these type of plays, the job is catching that move. The job is not trying to catch that. That can happen sometimes. You're just in the right place at the right time. But if you take every trade trying to catch the absolute bottom into the absolute high, you're probably going to find yourself just getting nickel and dime to death, a super low win rate, and very occasional winners, right? And that can have a high mental burden. Even if you execute that perfectly, it can have a high mental burden to have such a low win rate and just kind of get nickel and dimed. And then you probably won't even be in it when it does make those stronger top to bottom moves. It's just really about like Frank said, it's about finding the sweet spot. You have to come up, with your setups and scenarios to find and what works for you as far as your kind of optimal entry. It's best to track your data with a tool like TradeZella and tag especially stuff around your entries and your trade setups, like what works better. Like if the market is uptrending and there's a strong trend directionally in the market, it's going to be a lot more kind of forgiving going with that trend, right? And so depending on the trade setup, I have variations in how, I'm looking at the tape, I'm reading the tape in very similar ways for entries on almost all my trades. But depending on the context, whether the market's trending or balanced, uptrend, downtrends kind of behave a little bit differently. There are slight variations in how I do my trade management, how I do my trade entries. And you're only going to know that really by tracking your data with a tool like TradeZella for your specific setups with the specific entry models that you use, tag the mistakes and outcomes, right? And then track that data over time becomes a very powerful unlock to be like, this is what works better for these setups. This is the entry model that works better for these setups. This is the trade management that works better for these setups. The same trade entry style and management for one of your setups might be terrible for another setup, right? So it really, you have to know that for you. Good questions in the chat though, guys. The more good questions you guys ask throughout the stream, the more good kind of education that you guys get out of it. It's looking kind of balanced here overall, on a little bit more so on ES. NQ is definitely trying to sustain this momentum higher a little bit more, seems like. ES is looking a little bit more balanced here in the pre-market. We do have that news coming out at 10 a.m. that can shake things up a little bit. So we'll see what develops. It's been very important lately to stay extremely patient and not get chopped up in the middle. And that's typical. Summer volatility is lower, volume is lower. Seasonality wise, summers are like that. Which data connection do I use? Rhythmic. Yeah, I've got Rhythmic MBO data on Bookmap. I've got CME MBO data on D charts. Last month, I predicted the lows accurately on NQ. What signals give you that confidence? I'd have to charge you for that information. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. There's a lot that goes into it, and kind of the same stuff that I just went over in the pre-market here is just learning to identify the different phases that the market auction is going through. And a lot of it for me is kind of understanding the phases of Wyckoff and effort versus reward. And when I see high effort and no reward at key locations, that's a good signal that there could be a reversal. All right, we got 10 minutes till the market opens. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to step away really quick, get a drink, and I'll be right back. All right, let's go. Who's here? Who's ready to go? We need some energy in the chat. Y'all are dead. Let's go. Who's ready to trade live? Lo-fi chill playlist. Now you're hyped and gonna overtrade. Oh man, that's funny. Good morning, Trade Nicks. T-Trader, welcome in, welcome in. All right, so let's watch this thing. Getting some excited orders coming in. Take a look at ES over here too. Pretty flat right here. So let's watch this range. I'm gonna actually drop my deep charts down here over into a 15-minute. Watch this a little more closely. Institutional trading order flow. We don't know if it's going to be a chop fest. It's kind of balancing out right now, but we could have a strong break and continuation, or we could have mean reversion Friday. Definitely, you know, volume and volatility tends to die out on Fridays more often than not. I typically have a base hit and walk away early Fridays approach. So we'll see what happens. Definitely want to let this develop here inside this range from yesterday afternoon. Inside the middle of that range from yesterday afternoon on ES and NQ. Being patient. Definitely inside that range from yesterday afternoon, I am being patient. Checked out those new indicators with gamma, GEX, and stuff. No, but I will come out with more for that in the near future. I will put out more information on that. But yeah, they have a big drop as far as adding gamma levels to your charts, options, flow levels. So it's going to be a patient Friday, guys. Hopefully no divergence today. Yeah, Tori, we'll see. Like I was talking about this yesterday, the strongest directional trend moves are best when there is agreement on wide sector agreement. So like ES and NQ both breaking out, both trending. We had that yesterday morning, which was really strong. If there's a little bit of a divergence where like one tries to break out, one just kind of farts around in the middle of the range or reverses, then it can just be kind of choppy, mean reverting. So we'll see what sets up here. Let me know in the chat, what are you guys trading today? ES, NQ, something else, crude maybe, gold maybe. Let me know in the chat, what are you guys trading? NQ or MNQ, same thing. Good. GC gold futures, okay. YM, okay. The Dow. We don't have too many YM traders here. I am interested in checking out YM more. I did a little while ago, but I haven't traded it in quite a while. Euro USD, okay. So we shall see what happens here. Kind of holding this little grind up that we've been on all night. Quick little drop there. Strong pump of buying there. I pretty much always like to let like the first 5 minutes develop, ideally like the first 15. More substantial drop back on ES into that range that we talked about, kind of around 78.22 to 18-ish, like 4 or 5 point range down there. Prior day close, large absorption. Straight up divergence here with NQ pumping into the highs, ES pulling back. If ES bounces off these lows though, that could be added fuel for NQ to break out the highs. If ES, we see some big orders defend the lows here in that, that range that we talked about. If we see some big defense there at the lows, that could build momentum for NQ to break out the highs, but I don't want to front run it. I don't want to try to predict. Ahat said you lost cash on NQ, very volatile, trying to stay away from it. Yeah, NQ is the Wild West compared to ES. Definitely more, the tape is thinner, price ranges are bigger, it's more volatile. It's no problem, like you just need to adapt and learn to read the speed and size down, right? Size way down, right? Because you need to account for larger price swings and larger volatility. ES though is definitely more of a gentleman's market. It is probably easier too for beginners to learn to read order flow because it moves a bit slower. It gives you more time to see and understand the order flow. It's not quite as violent and unforgiving as NQ is. So we're still just kind of consolidating here. NQ is doing its best to hold volume up here at the highs of this range, prior day highs, just near there, this kind of area around 220 to 220, 280, like that 50, 60 point range there, which is basically this range. Holding up near yesterday's value area high, above yesterday's point of control. But so far, it's lacking continuation. Good morning, Bella. Welcome in. Learning more about the Wyckoff method really is, yeah, Wyckoff is the OG. My favorite book is the Studies in Tape Reading. Where is it? It's over here. Yeah, this book is the OG right here. Let's see. Went through this many times. Definitely a good one. Same concepts still apply 100 years ago. Yeah, Same concept still applies. So just being patient. Just being patient here, guys. We're kind of in the middle of this range. We are coming a little bit more towards the lows. I become more interested if we come down towards the lows, either the overnight lows or prior day close where we had all that absorption go on. That's what I mean here. So this area here and this area here. Now I would prefer to see it hold pretty quickly if it does dip to around here, or sit out and see if it kind of takes out the lows, recaptures. See. Just areas of interest, and I'm going to watch here on the order flow as we kind of get down here. Point of control just shifted down here to this 200 area. Some aggressive buying stepping in. This is also kind of right around the 20 EMA and VWAP kind of converging here. Show you guys on my footprint chart here. So we kind of pulled back here, a little bit of a surge of negative delta here, kind of converging around this. We have that's that little low volume spot right here. And then down there is where that big absorption zone was. So just dip down into it here. You see some orders here on the heat map, passive buyers that filled. You can see this here. So you see the surge of negative delta, aggressive sellers into passive buyers that were down here. Now, it doesn't mean the market's going to immediately reverse because there's some big passive buyers that fill down here. The mistake people make is thinking they see like absorption and then trying to jump the gun too quickly without seeing like good shift of structure and momentum. ES is also down in this range down here. So I would like to see a little bit of a shift of structure, shift of momentum, some aggressive delta from aggressive buyers step in, and then exhaustion from sellers. It could absolutely go for Asia lows. That's a good question. Yeah, I think we have giveaways, chat. Let me see with the team here. So starting to see some interesting stuff here. A little bit of a pop of positive delta here from aggressive buyers. Starting to watch this if we get a little pullback here. Right here where this aggressive selling kind of got absorbed. Now seeing some aggressive buying coming in. See this little dip here, see if that holds. Looking for this to dip back towards that little zone there. Starting to see some aggressive buying coming back in a little bit. Tried it long here at 203. Going to trail my stop quickly to around 198 might sweep me out here. A very tight stop here. I wanted to see that go immediately. Yeah, I took it off here. Took it off. We'll see if it dips back a little bit more. There's some bid that just stepped in there. As price was pulling up here, a little bit of a bid stepped in. Some more aggressive buying stepping in. Took that long again there. Minute 209 this time. Trailing my stop break even and letting it run. See if we can run up. We're back above the point of control here. If we can run up into 240s to 260s, that'd be nice. Stops break even down at 209. That just swept me out. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Just got taken out break even there. That sucks. Was up about 20 points there. Got swept out break even. That was ugly. That was a pretty ugly sweep. I liked how the strong positive delta was continuing to come in, but I don't like how we just swept back there. That was pretty ugly. Would like to see it kind of sweep a little bit lower now, if we can, back towards this zone where I really wanted it. I like this area down here more. It kind of sweeps back into there. There, it's taken off again. I jumped in with those aggressive buyers. Back in at 211, almost the exact same entry as before. Stops trailed break even again. I like the aggressive buying that surged in, kind of recaptured the VWAP and the 20 EMA there. If this sweeps back, I'm going to probably let go of this idea here. I'm looking for this to go up into like 40 to 60s. There we go. It's a nice, strong push of positive delta here. I really want to see this take off. At the risk of letting another 20, 30 point trade come back break even here. If we can get a nice break from here, I'm going to start just trailing my risk. Still have a break-even stop at 211. If we can push harder here, then I'm going to start just trailing my stop along the move and holding. We do have news coming out in like 15 minutes, so or 17 minutes. Would love to see this push up towards the 60s, up towards the highs of this range. There we go. There's a nice break, trailing my stop to, well, hang on. Let's be patient. Let's be patient for a minute. There we go. All right, I'm trailing my stop to 36 here. Just going to kind of trail behind the momentum now. Want it to give me as much as it can without rolling back over. I'm up to 45 stop trailed now. Would love to see it push into the 60s to 80s. Trailing my stop up. Sweet. My stop's at 50. My trailed stop's at 50. just going to take as much of this momentum as it'll give without rolling back over. Pushing my target order out to the high of the day above 80s. There it goes. Can it keep going? Trailing my stop up to about 55 now. Oh, took me out. As soon as I hit that trail, it swept back, took me out. I hit one more trail and took me out. All right, you guys want to see that? Up about $800 overall there because I took a little loss before. So there's my break even. I had taken that little loss before. Overall up $800. As soon as that positive delta surged off that zone that I told you guys to watch there, I took it long. And you can see the 20 EMA crossed over. Boom. As soon as we broke those highs there, then I just started trailing my stop along these bars. I'm just trying to capture as much of the momentum as it'll give me before it rolls back over. And I actually trailed a little too early right there, and I just paid for that. This would be continuing to go. So that was a $900 win. I took a $100 loss, a break even, and a $900 win. I was only risking on that trade about $100 because I was only risking the bottom of that bar there was my stop, right? Because I saw we were already ripping off that zone, and I'm identifying when I see this negative delta get absorbed off that zone, goes flat, surge of positive delta, I'm basically identifying the bottom of a candle wick as it's forming, right? And so once I see that, boom, my stop is right under that bar there. These are 10-point range bars on NQ. My entry's there as we recapture with that momentum. Then my first target was like, okay, let's break above these highs. Once we do that, I'm just trailing my stop to catch as much of the momentum as it'll give me before it rolls back over. So that was a 9R trade. And I made back a $100 loss and a break even. How's that for a Friday morning, team? Want to learn about it? Study some tape reading. Reading the tape is all about identifying the immediate trend in price. How long did that take? I got in at 9:41. I got out at 9:45. So at 9:41, actually in 30 seconds. So about 3 minutes, 9R trade. Somebody asked in the pre-market why I've been trading NQ more. Because I can catch 9R trades in 3 minutes. It would take me a long ass time to sit in a trade on ES for 9R. Just like a sniper on NQ here, man. Take me a long ass time to sit in a trade for 9R on ES. Okay, chat. I got good news. We've got an Apex giveaway. We've got an Ola Prime giveaway. We've got a TradeZella. Now, you guys know me. I have primarily traded personal capital over the years. The last few months, I've started trading with Apex, mainly to teach other people what works, what doesn't, yada, yada. But I have been paid out tens of thousands of dollars from Apex in the last few months. So yes, it works. Yes, learn the skill and then use whatever you want, whether personal account, take leverage from prop firm accounts, make sure you use good firms like we vet here and Chart Fanatics and give you guys discount codes. Also, we got these giveaways, but we got Apex, Ola Prime, and TradeZella giveaways in the. Oh, we're gonna do the wheel. Oh, hell yeah! I love doing that. That's more fun for me. Okay, we're gonna do the giveaway wheel. Okay, Vinit, let me know when you're ready, sir. We'll do the first giveaway. We're just gonna do one giveaway now. We'll do more later in the stream. Is that good, Vinit? We'll do one giveaway because I just made money. I win, you win. How about that? Does that sound fair? Let me pull up the wheel. Drop a W in the chat if you learned something on that trade setup. And drop a W in the chat if you're excited for some giveaways now. What are we going to give away first here? What are we going to give away first here? By the way, we got news coming out in 10 minutes. So that was the perfect time window that I wanted for that scalp this morning. Look at that zone that I gave you guys. I told you guys in real time, this is when the momentum shift. I drew this green box. I was waiting on that whole pullback, waiting on that whole pullback. This is when I saw the absorption and then the delta shift towards the aggression from buyers, right? At that point, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm looking for pullbacks and momentum to go long. Do you see that? We didn't try to catch the low. I waited to see something like this. And by the way, that was not at a random location. Let's look at deep charts again. It was when we dipped into this zone here where we had all that absorption at the close yesterday. Then we started to see big absorption. We started to see the momentum shift. Then I'm looking to scalp the longs. Not looking for a massive home run either. I don't need a massive home run to catch a 9R trade. Yeah, you guys want to go on deep charts? Well, let's do the giveaway here, guys, and then I'll recap the trade again. And I'll go through top down why I was watching that zone and how I took the trade again. We just dipped down there again, and basically since that happened, dips have been bought so far. It might not hold all day, I don't know, but it held long enough for my trade. No, with pretty much any platform that out there, you have to pay for the software tool and then you have to pay for a data feed, right? Because that's a cost that the software tools eat as well, guys, right? You have to get that data from CME, from Rhythmic, whatever. That's not provided by whoever develops the software tools that you trade with. All right, so in the chat, are you ready? Is Vinit, are we ready on the back end? One time and one time only, enter !join, and we'll run a giveaway. It's only going to be open for a minute here. You got to be fast. Let's go. Tom said, "Matt, I like your Anicle AI tool. Did you build it yourself?" No, that's not my tool. That's Market AI's tool. They're a partner of the team here as well. Check that out if you're interested, marketedge.ai. If you have questions about it, whatever, send me a DM on Instagram. So guys, be careful because we're back in the middle of the range here and we have news coming out in 7 minutes. All right, Vinit, we've given the time, !join in the chat. Let's close it. So just really quick, right? We are back in the middle of this zone. Notice how my trade was after momentum shift when we dipped down here. I'm taking profit into the middle of this range, right? I told you guys I was looking for like that 60 to 80 area, which was the upper middle of this range. I'm sitting on my hands now, right? I'm sitting on my hands now. We're in the middle of this high volume range, right? This was opportunity. This is opportunity to get, right? Don't touch that. Unless you have a plan for it. If you have a plan, if you have your own trade set up, for me personally, I don't like the middle of value areas. All right, I'm going to get the list of names from the team here. All right, guys, be ready to go because I'm going to give the first giveaway here. Be ready to go. If I call your username, you got to be ready to claim it in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Once we move on, no goes backsies. All right. So first giveaway, we got one Apex account. Let's hit it. Trades with me. Let me know in the chat at trades with me. At trades with me. Are you here? Going once. Going twice. At trades with me. All right, we're moving on. Is he here? Didn't see anything in the chat. Didn't see anything. Is my chat lagging? Chat might not be working for me. All right. Vinit said he's in there. My chat's lagging, guys. Sorry. Let me refresh my chat or something. 1 second. Nope. I don't see it. Well, the backend team said they saw the chat, so we'll do another giveaway in the stream, guys. Don't worry, we got more giveaways to come. In the meantime, right now, I'm focusing on protecting the $800 that I just made. I'm not going to take a dumb trade here in the middle of this. So let's see what happens. Had a really nice run up. I captured a good chunk of that move, you know, from the 210s, 211s. What was my actual? I had it at 210 to 56. So about 45, 46 points there on a 10-point risk. No, not 10 point, 5-point risk. So hell yeah. Can I explain how I read my screen? Yeah, which one are you talking about? Bookmap? So here's the news, guys, by the way, 10 a.m. So what I'm looking at here, and this applies for most heat maps. I know there's a lot of other good tools out here. I'm using Bookmap right now. There's Deep Dom, there's other good heat map tools. But essentially the heat map here on these dark orange and red spots are showing me the level 2. So resting orders, which we see here on the current order book here. And on the right-hand side here, you can see I have this current order book, which is just the heat map, right? That's where resting passive orders, right? So there's passive orders in the market and there's aggressive orders, right? Aggressive orders are like when you buy market, sell market. You're trading at the bid, at the ask, right? So you could get slipped, but you will get filled. Whereas limit orders, passive orders, you'll be guaranteed to be filled only at that price, but you may or may not be filled, right? So these heat map is showing me the passive orders, not stop losses, because stop losses are typically on your broker side and execute as market orders. So passive orders, not necessarily, not stop orders. I want to be clear about that. Now the bubbles are showing me a representative of the, in this case, like on my NQ bubbles, these are showing me the size of the bubble is indicative of the size of volume, and the split is the delta, the difference between aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers. So in this little price range here, you see it almost like a pie chart. There was this many aggressive sellers and this many aggressive buyers. Now, a different way to view it is how I have it on ES, which is just whole red or green bubbles, and the size is the size of the volume delta, right? So in this case, I'm just looking at the difference between aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers. And if there's more aggressive buyers, then it's a green bubble, right? And then down here at the bottom on both ES and NQ are delta bars, which it groups together just kind of based on how much I'm zoomed in on the screen. So you can see in this little range here, that's showing me the delta bars, right? So very similar to my footprint charts over here. Very similar information, except I do not have the level 2 heat map, but I do have the delta bars. I do have these range bars, but these are showing me volume and delta by the tick. Okay, I could zoom in on that to show you a little bit more clearly. But on the right-hand side over here, I'm looking at the session volume profile. So very similar to my footprint charts as well. You see in gray here, I'm looking at the session volume profile. So that's the volume by price as it's traded throughout the day. Now, one other thing here that I have on Bookmap, for example, that I don't have on my footprint chart is also the chart volume profile. So if I zoom in on a specific area of the chart, this little column here is showing me the volume profile of just what's on my screen. This is showing me the volume profile of the whole session. This is showing me the volume profile of just the area on my screen. Right. Another way you could do this, if you were using like deep charts, for example, is you can literally just draw a volume profile over a specific area that you're looking at. Like if I was just looking at this area, I could draw that. But I basically see that in real time, and I zoom in on my screen of the area that I want to see the volume profile on Bookmap in real time as price trades. And you can see here, intraday, I just drew this volume profile here over this area, and these are 15-minute bars. So basically since the market opened, and you can see it's a relatively balanced range, right? Relatively balanced range where we see a pretty even distribution between the value area, high, value area, low, bell curve, point of control in the middle. Now the caveat, I do see a lot more aggressive selling coming into the lows here, which so far has been absorbed because passive buyers have taken that and price did not trade any lower from there. So you can see that every time prices dipped into this range, and this was actually not coincidentally, because I saw this in real time on my trade entry. If you guys remember, my trade entry was right in this area as well, because I saw this going on Bookmap on real time, right? So we're continuing to see a defense from passive buyers at these lows, and then aggressive buyers are driving up. But at the same time, you see this aggressive buying right into the high that has not really driven price higher. So we're in a balancy area here overall, right? Buyers defending the lows, sellers defending the highs, back and forth in this range. Now, overall, I would say slight edge, not slight edge, an edge to the buyers. Fundamentals, like we talked about in the pre-market this morning, are leaning in the buyer's favor. Markets uptrending pretty strongly. Like overall, look at this daily chart here. Let's go back to what first things that we talked about this morning. Daily chart. Recent strong uptrend, all-time highs. So like I said, I'm looking for long side scenarios kind of until proven otherwise. Not that I won't. I'm not like biased where I come into the markets like I'm only looking at longs. No, I'm going to read objectively what's happening in the volume and the order flow as the day progresses. But there's obviously macroeconomics in favor of the long side right now. There's obviously, uptrend going on, right? So I'm going to favor setups to position myself with that. It's just easier money. Why would I fight that? That help you guys learn something? Good question in the chat for our guy. Who asked that? Good question. Yeah. Good question in the chat. Good little lesson. And I think based on that awesome little lesson we just had, we should do another giveaway. We ready in the chat? Right. And so the same thing that I was just talking about on Bookmap, if we kind of zoom out and look at this little bit larger range here, we can see bell curve distribution. We're pretty balanced in this range like we've been talking about. We came towards these lows where we saw that absorption yesterday. That's where I was interested in longs, took longs once momentum shifted off that. Now we're coming into these highs. I want to be hesitant to kind of chase it up here unless we see a new setup, which would be a strong breakout. Get rid of this. All right, in the chat, one time only. Are you guys ready? Exclamation point order flow. And smash the like button too. Bonus points if you smash the like button. Heck yeah, let's go chat. Exclamation point order flow. Exclamation point order flow. If you learned something today, learned a trade setup, hopefully caught a nice win off that analysis. Shared live with you, live trade. 9 freaking R in 3 minutes this morning. That's why I love, I don't need to be right for long. I don't need much. At the end of the day, I can just analyze the auction, what's going on, where are buyers, where are sellers, make money and walk away. All right, guys, we're just about to close it. You have just a minute. Exclamation point order flow in the chat. I was just going with one contract here. It was literally just one contract. I mostly trade like 1 to 4 contracts. Full size contracts, not micros. All right, guys, we're going to close it here. Yep, I told you guys one time only. If you guys entered it more than one time, you're not going to even be in it. So, all right, let's go. I'm going to get the list of names from the team. There we go. Let's go. All right, so we got Ola Prime account. Ola Prime account. Let's go. Make sure you're ready to claim it. Make sure you're ready to claim it. Ooh, Hev 6429. Hev, it's closed, by the way. Entries are closed. We're running the giveaway. Hev 6429. Or Apex giveaway. Sorry, Apex giveaway. Gopi the trader said, like your data-driven strategy, so you bookmark only software and its data packages. I'm not sure what your question is, but yeah, I have software, tools, and data packages. Biggest challenge when you first started trading, man, there's so many challenges that you go through when you start out trading. Obviously, like, you need to have a technical strategy first that actually works. And then there's also so many emotional aspects to come into trading. You really need to be a well-rounded trader. You need to really be a well-rounded trader. And this is a game where, like, if you don't have all the different aspects mastered, risk management, your actual strategy, your psychology and consistency in the markets, if you don't have all those pillars kind of mastered, you're not going to make money. For me, one of the biggest struggles after I had a good technical strategy, after I could manage my emotions and be disciplined and that kind of stuff, then one of the biggest struggles became adapting to different market conditions. And it very much helped becoming kind of like a Jedi master at just reading the market auction, the different phases that it goes through, like, you know, going back to the basics, auction market theory, Wyckoff theory stuff, learning to analyze that in real time with order flow tools, volume profiles, and stuff like that. Because, you know, trading off supply and demand, support and resistance, trading off chart patterns, moving averages, none of that crap works for me, right? I know some people can kind of have it work, but at the end of the day, all that stuff is a lagging indicator, really. It's just showing what's already happened in the past. It has nothing to do with the orders coming in the market right now. And so one of the biggest things, once I did have a good strategy, entry patterns and things like that, is learning to identify the different market conditions and when certain setups were in play or not, and having kind of a full framework for when I look for this trade setup versus this trade setup, how I manage risk consistently on this setup versus this setup, tracking all that to really maximize and identify what works in different market conditions and how to understand the different market conditions to begin with. A lot of people may find success with certain setups and it works for a short period of time, and then this just stops working and they don't know why, because they don't understand how to read the market auction, how to read the phases that it goes through, how to read the different conditions, volatility, all that kind of stuff. And so they'll do good for a period of time, and then it stops working and they blow up and they can't adapt, right? How would you rank the order flow tools that you use? All of them are S tier. I don't use anything that's not S tier. Good questions. Yeah, there you go. He's got it in the chat. Got it right there. So head over to the Discord channel to claim that. Head over to Chart Fanatics Discord. You can definitely learn, and there's definitely books that I recommend, like The Mental Game of Trading is a really good book. The Daily Trading Coach by Brett Steenberger, really good. I like those books that are more focused on application of things, not just like vague psychology, whatever, right? They're very focused. And I like those two books specifically. Market Wizards is also good, or not Market Wizards, Mark Douglas. But specifically the Daily Trading Coach and The Mental Game of Trading, really good. But it comes with experience, right? And this is in all fields. Best Loser Wins is good too, but it comes in all fields, not just trading, right? There is a calm, veteran presence that just comes with experience, and you just have to build that over time, and it helps to learn with somebody like you guys are here. But it's just like, I was explaining this to somebody the other day, just like imagine like a police officer, right? Coming into a chaotic situation, a car accident or whatever, right? And imagine like somebody that's brand new on the job, 3 months, 6 months in, and how jumpy and nervous they would be and not knowing what to do and like all that stuff, because it's like their first go around, versus the veteran that's been there for 20 years. They've been to a million scenes like this. It's just another day in the office, right? And so being able to conduct yourself like a veteran professional in all fields is going to help you operate clearly under pressure. And trading is the same way. And that's built with experience. Yeah, good questions in the chat, team. So we are still just kind of barcoding in this range. We are coming back down here to where this orders was going on, but I'm seeing kind of lackluster, right? It's getting a little later in the morning now, right? So it's, it's getting a little later in the morning here, and it's kind of lackluster. Selling pressure is kind of building here. So I'm kind of sitting back chilling. When I've already made money on a range like this internally, I kind of just sit back and wait for like a new failed break at the extremes, or something else, right? And eventually, if this heavy selling keeps coming in like this, like the absorption could get exhausted and we like saturate that and break down. The path, if all the passive buying gets filled and is gone, right, and the heavy aggressive selling is still coming in, then that's going to drive a breakdown. Not saying that's happening yet. We still need to kind of wait and see. But at least in the near term, this zone is not so interesting to me right now. Another big seller just hit in here as well. Can you please show us a key level on the chart where price action failed what you expected it to do? not sure what you mean. I don't really have like expectations of what should happen or should do. I just observe, decide, and react based on what's happening, right? And nothing is 100%, right? Nothing is 100%. Take my best educated bet based on my experience and the trade setups that I repeat, but I never expect any outcome or expect something to happen, right? It either does or it doesn't, and it's just a probabilities game. So far, based on like my pre-market analysis, I guess what you could say I expected was resistance up in this gold zone here and support in this gold zone down here. And that's pretty much been the case. And chop in the middle. That's been the case. So if we come down here, we have a bunch of aggressive selling like this again, fails, we recapture above it, strong momentum above it. I may look for a pullback in it to get long. Generally, my rule of thumb, especially on a Friday, if I just like go full take profit in the first couple trades of the day and I'm solidly up green, I kind of have that just base hit on a Friday and walk away. That's just generally how I like to play Fridays. ES is still dropping over here as well. Let's just look at this because I like looking at this like this. Just kind of sitting back, staying patient here, guys. So ES coming into these as well. We just dipped under that, some aggressive selling. So I'm really curious, does this drive continuation or do we quickly recapture above here? Right, because this selling is looking pretty aggressive right now on ES, right, which could drive continuation, maybe towards the value area low. Right? If we quickly break this, I could see us snapping down to this area down here. But it depends on if we turn this into a failed breakdown here and quickly recapture, trap those aggressive sellers at the lows, then we could shoot back up to the point of control again here. Simply just looking the 15-minute on both. And then, if I need to do anything, I've got, my footprint chart over here. I can also move bookmap over. But a mistake a lot of people make is like looking at the order flow at a non-key spot and like trying to find something that tells them to click a button, right? That doesn't even matter right now until there's a key setup. We are coming into this zone, right? We did trap some sellers potentially down here, potentially if we can shift momentum back to the upside. But again, I'm not trying to catch the absolute low. And it's getting later and later in the session on a Friday, and I've already made money. So. Life Buddy asks, why did you use Delta bubbles on ES, Pi bubbles on the NASDAQ? Just personal preference. One thing that I do like is zooming out more on, where is it? Zooming out more on Bookmap on NQ. And I like the visual pie chart because the more you zoom out, the more it like groups orders together. And so I kind of like zooming out and being able to see the split of, where there's more one or the other. Because sometimes you'll hit a high or low and you'll see like significantly more aggressive selling or aggressive buying at that high or low in the total volume balls. But it doesn't really matter all that much. You can see it here on the Delta spikes as well. Look at, by the way, pretty heavy selling. Like look at since 10 a.m. Look at all the Delta bars down here, pretty heavy, coming and just consistently driving lower here. All right, so I'm not trying to catch the low here. I'm just kind of sitting back. This was a nice one earlier, but obviously that failed to break out the highs. I already made my money on this and moved on. And now we kind of just broke under this. So this might actually be a good spot to watch if this breakdown holds under there. So far it is. Actually, almost a good break and retest under there. Yep. Now, the part that a lot of people skip and they never make progress in their trading is wrapping up their trade like I just did, and then not journaling, not tracking their data, not tracking their setups, not tagging, right? It's one thing to just track, another thing to actually like tag, review, and start to take your data under the microscope to figure out what's working and what's not working. And for that, I use TradeZella. So let's go ahead. And speaking of TradeZella, we have a TradeZella giveaway in the chat. And let's run the giveaway for that. Mr. Vinnett, are you ready to go, sir? The real skill development and progress in this game is made in the boring work. The fun work that everybody wants to do, which is like clicking buttons on the chart, is like 10% of the job. 90% of the job is studying what works, back testing, reviewing data, tracking data, journaling, all those things. Like that boring work that nobody does is what the majority of what people are missing. Everybody wants to sit here and get the dopamine hit of clicking buttons, right? That's 10% of the job of a professional trader. All right, exclamation point journal in the chat if you want to be entered for the TradeZella giveaway. Only one time. Yeah, make sure you only enter it one time. A lot of aggressive selling is still hammering the lows here, especially on ES, and it's broken under this low, kind of left a little bit of a low volume node. It's a little counter trend right now overall in the higher time frames, but I'd almost be likely to see if a pop back into this fails now for a little bit more of a breakdown. Kind of looking at that area. Exclamation point journal, one time only in the chat if you want to be entered for the giveaway. And, you know, volume could die out and it could become just an inside day. We'll see what happens, but you see value area high and low from yesterday here on ES, value area high and low from yesterday here on NQ, pretty much just all within entire day, Asia session, London session, New York session so far, just all within, not even all of yesterday's range, just within value area from yesterday. The selling's continuing to be kind of aggressive into the lows here. So, all right, we're going to close the giveaway in just 1 minute, guys. Exclamation point journal in the chat if you want to be in it. So I would watch to see what happens down here on ES. If we do come down here, I would watch to see what happens if we dip under these lows and potentially recapture or fail under on NQ. A lot of aggressive selling so far today, though. Just a lot of selling. Could just be profit taking up here. You know, we don't know. Market takes breathers along uptrends. It doesn't just trade straight and forever. All right, guys, it is closed now. Let's go ahead and run the giveaway. I'll get the list again from the team for the TradeZella giveaway. So we came down to just the lows of this range here, just the lows of where these orders came in yesterday. Still seeing aggressive selling. All right, I got the list. More aggressive sell orders coming in right into these lows here. All right, let's run it. Be ready to go, guys. Be ready to go. Tommy Gun 99. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, Tommy Gun 99. Let me know in the chat if you are here, Tommy Gun 99. There he is. Congratulations. Head over to the Chart Fanatics Discord to go ahead and claim that. Go over to, let's see, the giveaways channel. Sorry, the support channel. So head over here to the support channel, giveaways claim. There you go. More aggressive selling, just slamming these lows down here. Make sure you head over there. Yeah, I would head over there right now within the next 24 hours to claim it. I would head over there right now. So I would watch out for this area here on ES around 7,800, 7,810. And I would watch out for these lows here on NQ, kind of around 30,100 to 120s. If we dip there, get supported by really strong, look at that, aggressive buyer just came into that low right there. If we dip down there and we do end up seeing some aggressive buying defend, we could mean revert back up into here. All right, guys. I think that's going to be a wrap for me. I kind of already made my money today. No need to continue rolling the dice. I'd rather just enjoy my Friday and weekend. Hope you guys learned something here today. Thanks for tuning in. Smash the like button. I'm here with Chart Fanatics Live on Fridays. If you'd like to learn order flow trading, volume, profile analysis, all that kind of stuff, I will see you guys back here on Friday next week. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.